Imagine reading a 3,200-year-old stone tablet that names the Sea Peoples for the very first time. Around 1207 BCE, Pharaoh Merneptah carved lines boasting of a great victory. The wretched chief of Libya has invaded with Shekelesh. Amun was with them as a shield. This Merneptah Stele is our earliest record of Sea Peoples' attacks on Egypt, men and women sailing in to raid farms and cities. In this episode, we'll unpack how this single inscription launched the timeline of Sea Peoples' history and set the stage for their later invasions. If you're excited to trace history's first Sea Peoples sighting, smash that like button and subscribe. Around 1207 BCE, Pharaoh Merneptah, son of Ramesses II, fought off invaders on Egypt's western and northern borders. He had just carved a granite slab, now called the Merneptah Stele, in the temple of Karnak to brag about his victories. The stele's main text tells of defeating Libyan tribes, but its last lines shift to Canaan, listing cities and peoples Merneptah claimed to destroy. This is our earliest written hint that foreign raiders, later called the Sea Peoples, were stirring trouble beyond Libya. Key facts about the Stele: date and place, year 5 of Merneptah's reign. Around 1207 BCE, Karnak in Thebes. Material: black granite, over 3 meters tall. Discovery found by Flinders Petrie in 1896, now in Cairo's Egyptian Museum. Although the word Sea Peoples doesn't appear by name, the stele mentions groups like the Shekelesh, seafaring fighters from the Aegean and other coastal raiders. Egyptologists read this as the first spark of the great invasions to follow. The wretched chief of Libya has invaded with Shekelesh. Amun was with them as a shield. This shows Merneptah faced not just desert foes, but warriors arriving by ship. Imagine coastal raiders landing on Egypt's shores, farmers and fishermen seeing strange sails on the horizon. These early attacks set the timeline for the Sea Peoples' full-scale invasions under Ramses III. Next, we'll dive into the scientific and archaeological clues that identify these raiders and link them to later waves of Sea Peoples' assaults. The Merneptah Stele around 1207 BCE is the first known record to mention the Sea Peoples. Pharaoh Merneptah carved it in his 5th year at Karnak, boasting of victories over Libyans and coastal raiders. One key line reads, "The wretched chief of Libya has invaded with Shekelesh. Amun was with them as a shield." Here, Shekelesh refers to one Sea Peoples group from the Aegean region. Other names like Sherden, Ekwesh, Lucca and Teresh appear in Egyptian records of this era, showing a mix of seafaring bands attacking Egypt's western and northern coasts. Sherden, likely from Sardinia wearing horned helmets; Shekelesh, probably from Sicily, Sicils or nearby islands; Ekwesh, thought to be from Ionia, western Anatolia; Lucca linked to Lycia in southern Turkey; Teresh, maybe Thracian or Mycenaean groups. Archaeologists find pottery styles and weapons in coastal digs that match Aegean designs. For example, in Tel Twani, modern Syria, a destroyed late Bronze Age layer contains Mycenaean pottery shards. This matches Egyptian claims that foreign raiders pressed into Canaanite coasts soon after Merneptah's victory. Early attacks on Egypt. Merneptah's inscriptions describe 2 attack fronts. First, Libyan tribes, allied with Sherden and Shekelesh, raided farms along the western delta, aiming for food stores. Second, northern raiders, groups from the sea, landed on the Mediterranean coast, targeting ports and river mouths. Merneptah claimed to have killed thousands. I overthrew them. Their corpses filled the countryside, and those who reached the ships were overwhelmed by fear. These dramatic words show how serious the raids were. Egypt's own strong navy and land forces drove many attackers back, but the stele warns others to stay away, a clear political message to both Egyptians and foreign groups. Archaeological corroboration. Karnak reliefs, nearby wall reliefs, depict defeated warriors with distinctive round shields and trousers styles seen in Mycenaean frescoes. Scholars link these to the Sea Peoples described on the stele. Coastal forts, excavations at Purdus Tel El Burak in Lebanon, reveal burned fort walls dated to around 1200 BCE, matching Merneptah's record of beach landing raids. Cyprus cites early 12th century BCE destruction layers at Enkomi and Kitchen coincide with a wave of Sea Peoples attacks moving eastward. These data points confirm that after Merneptah's note, raiders continued pressure on Egypt's neighbors and prepared for the larger invasions under Ramesses III. Impact on Egyptian society. Merneptah's emphasis on divine support, Amun was with them as a shield, reassured Egyptians that the gods stood by the throne. Yet, repeated raids weakened border defenses and forced the pharaoh to divert troops from Nubia and the Asiatic front. Temple records show increased grain offerings and military dedication, signs that resources were strained. Economically, coastal trade routes suffered. Shipping logs note gaps in cargoes of cedar wood and copper from Cyprus, implying merchant ships avoided danger zones. In response, Merneptah built new coastal watchtowers and raised boat patrols, early forerunners of later defensive walls under Ramesses III. Imagine you're a fisherman in Pelusium, Egypt's eastern Nile Delta port. One morning you spot strange ships on the horizon with round shields glinting in the sun. Word spreads, sea wolves are coming. Farmers rush to hide grain jars. Villagers arm themselves with makeshift spears. By night, fires near the shore confirm the landing. You know that Merneptah's army will arrive soon, but first you hope your family hides enough bread to survive. Connecting to the Sea People's timeline, the Merneptah Stele marks year zero for Sea People's history. It shows Egyptians first recognized these raiders not as isolated gangs, but as a collective threat. Subsequent pharaohs recorded bigger invasions. Ramesses III, around 1177 BCE, would face full fleets in his naval battles. Records in Ugarit describe city defenses strengthened against sea attacks decades later. Thus, Episode 3's focus on Merneptah's Stele sets the stage for the dramatic clashes still to come. After Merneptah's victory in 1207 BCE, Egypt tightened its defenses. Pharaohs built coastal watchtowers and set up naval patrols, changes that influenced later rulers like Ramesses III when the full Sea People's fleets attacked. Temple inscriptions show extra offerings to Amun for protection, proof that the raids left Egyptians uneasy. Beyond Egypt, coastal towns in Canaan and Cyprus reinforced harbours and stored grain inland. At Perdus, also known as Tel el-Burak, burnt walls dated to this era hint that Merneptah's raids foreshadowed more violence to come. The Merneptah Stele also shaped history writing. By naming groups like Shekelesh and Sherden, it gave later historians clear labels for Sea People's waves. These names appear again under Ramesses III, showing a continuing threat rather than one-off attacks. Legacy example. Coastal watchtowers built after 1207 BCE became models for Iron Age fortifications across the Mediterranean. Farmers in the Delta learned to store grain in hidden silos, an early strategy against food raids. This episode highlights how a single carved stone not only celebrated a victory, but also set the blueprint for Egypt's future defenses and our modern understanding of the Sea People's rise. The Merneptah Stele of 1207 BCE gives us the very first name check of the Sea Peoples. Shekelesh, Sherden and their allies, showing they attacked Egypt's coasts alongside Libyan tribes. This single stone tablet not only celebrated Pharaoh Merneptah's victory, but also warned future rulers of a rising maritime threat. Egypt's new watchtowers and naval patrols grew from lessons learned here, shaping how kingdoms defended against sea raiders for centuries. Thanks for watching Episode 3 of our Sea Peoples series. If you enjoyed uncovering the Merneptah Stele's secrets, comment which Sea Peoples group you find most mysterious and subscribe to catch Episode 4 when we dive into Ramesses III's epic battles. Stay curious